Welcome to Pera's Playbook. This is your host, Alex Pera. Let's open up our playbook and see who our guest is. Please enjoy. Welcome to episode 184 of Pera's Playbook. Today we're joined by Riley Lewis. Riley's a professional golfer. He's going to talk a little bit of golf, talk about some things he's done recently, some events he's played in recently, and we're going to have a good chat. Appreciate you hopping on. How's it going?
Doing well. Thanks for having me here. Excited to be
Yeah.
back in Washington. Um, Long travel day back from the Open, but glad to have played.
Yeah. Yeah, exciting weekend for you. Coming off of a little bit of a high, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a good experience.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely dive into that. Um, but I want to talk about a few things before we get to that, like kind of different routes that there are to the tour. And we'll kind of focus on like the path that you're on. You're on the PGA Tour Americas. You played Division One golf at Loyola Marymount. So how do you go from playing college golf to PGA Tour Americas? I guess let's start with that.
Um, for me, I had to get through Q school. A handful of people, I guess, go through PGA University, where they rack up points through just playing college events. Unfortunately, my school, LMU, didn't really have the strong enough schedule, and then I didn't play super well in a couple events, which kind of hurt my chances of that. But did well enough at Q School last year to get some status. Played a couple events in Canada, and then did well in the Corn Ferry Q School at the end of the year to get full status on this year's at least Latin America swing, which ended a couple weeks ago, and did well enough there where I got full status for 10 events in Canada, which starts in about 2 weeks. So far through the year, it's been a lot of ups and downs, but honestly, it's been a lot of fun and learned a ton. Uh, Pro golf and how to manage everything. Still learning to this day, but yeah, I'm excited to get started in Canada in 2 weeks.
So with each stage, you have to play well, like in the Canadian stage, to then continue on to the next stage.
Right. So they have mid-season Q School for America's Tour, which they had four sites just finished in the last couple weeks, and then I think there's one more maybe next week, right before it starts up in New Brunswick. So those who either didn't get, I think top 60 get status for Canada after Latin America. So those who either didn't get top 60 or who were or just didn't have status in general, they could just sign up straight away. I think it's top 10 or 11 in ties, or maybe it's just top 11 at each site get full status. But they changed it this year from last year, so I wasn't exactly sure how it worked, but had a couple buddies get through, so excited to travel with them as well. And yeah, it's kind of in the swing of things right now for the Americas Tour, which is fun.
So then at the end of your PGA Tour Americas year, how many guys is it top 10 get Corn Ferry Tour cards?
Exactly. Yep, top 10 just on the points list. Similar to FedEx Cup, where each tournament gives you a certain amount of points for your finish. And so I think I'm sitting 36 right now after the first six events, which is not a bad spot at all. Just need to have a few more good events, and then hopefully it's good enough to get top 10 at the end of the year.
So, I mean, can this all be accelerated if like say you would have went, at the Open and you would have tore it up and you would have, gotten top 10 or something? Would that have accelerated you farther? Like, is it there's multiple, I guess what I'm asking is there's multiple different paths to getting on the tour.
Yeah, definitely. So there was a guy actually a couple of years ago, and he Monday qualified into a couple PGA events back to back, and he finished like top 10 or top five. And he was able to get like a temporary card, just temporary status. And I don't think he had any status before that. And so there's that way, which is probably honestly a lot harder. You have the Monday and then you have to do well. But if I had say like top five at the US Open, I think that would have gotten me some sort of status for like, or just some sort of temporary status for either Corn Ferry next year or something. Um, Although PJ Americas, it's kind of, it's a separate thing. So like they wouldn't have changed any status that I had for that or Corn Ferry status. which is an interesting kind of situation. So I'd made the cut in Mexico, and it didn't affect any of my Corn Ferry status or America status either. And so it's all separate, but what they tell you is to just commit to one path. That makes it easier to kind of just rack up the points or just rack up status wherever you can. So it's a process, but it's a fun one.
Yeah. So obviously the goal, right, is to have a great season. You mentioned that you're in 36th. I mean, you're not that far out of it. But let's say the season wraps up and you're outside of that top 10. Can you play on the PGA Tour Americas again for another year?
I believe it's top. I think yeah. After 10th event, I think it's top 80 get their cards for the next season, but only through Latin America. So there's actually a handful of backlash from a lot of the players that have been on the tour for a while, where it's like you play so well for a full season and then you're only guaranteed 6 starts. But I think a lot of that's because there's a lot of younger guys coming through PGA University or just like through college um, or whatnot, or like maybe even through Q School, Corn Ferry Q School. And so they're really in kind of a tricky spot because there's no really right answer. But in general, it's top. I'm pretty sure it's top 80 get status for the next year. And outside of that, you just gotta hope to get through Q School end of the year. And I mean, through Q School end of the year, you can also just get PGA status if you're top five at the final stage. So it's a lot can change if you play well at the right time, which is a good thing about it.
Yeah. It's very interesting. I feel like it's kind of confusing as like a fan to think about all the like how guys get to the tour and what does it mean if you're at this level versus this level. And I feel like there's not a ton of information out there, right? Like I mean I'm sure if you Googled it, you can read
100%.
articles and stuff about it, but like it's not like you just turn on the Golf Channel and they're talking about like, well, this is how this guy's making his way or whatever.
No, exactly. That is something that I've learned in the last year or so. It's been very confusing, kind of getting understanding like what I can do with the status I have. And I definitely gotten more knowledgeable about it, but still, it's a lot that's everybody talks about. It's like it's very confusing the process and just the status and starts and everything.
Right. Like I
They
feel like
honestly
if you
should
look
have
at
like a little handbook.
yeah, no, that'd be great. Paths to the tour or whatever, like paths of professional golf, little step-by-step pocket guide. Because I feel like if you look at other sports, like the
Exactly.
NFL, right? Like the NFL, you come out of college, you get drafted. If you don't get drafted, you maybe you go to like a rookie mini camp and you try to get signed. Like it's pretty straightforward. These are the steps. That's how you get there. This is how that guy did it. But if you look at golf, maybe baseball would be the other similar one because there's so many. There's like high AAA, low AAA, and like all these different affiliates and like
Right.
working your way up. Maybe that'd be like the closest similarity.
It could be. I mean, there in golf there are a handful of just mini tours outside of like PGA sanctioned. And so even those like anyone can sign up and play. The only issue is like usually doesn't give you any status anywhere else. But it gives you experience. You can win some money and learn a lot, improve. So there are perks to each stage, but obviously I think the goal for most people is getting to the PGA.
Is there any connection to like your tour that you're on right now and then the European tour, the DP World Tour, getting on that or not affiliated at all?
I don't think they're like even if you're top 10 here, I don't think you can directly get into the European like DP World Tour. But there's Q School for those like DP and then Challenge Tour as well, which I think I didn't even look at that last year. I was pretty naive when I first started pro golf because I didn't know like where I could go, where I could travel. But I think sticking to the US for someone who's never really left the country might be the best
Yeah.
strategy starting out.
Yeah. Yeah, right, definitely. So you mentioned the Mexico Open, which is a PGA event for people who don't know. So how did you qualify for that? How'd you end up playing that?
So through Q School last year, last fall, or I guess last winter, I was able to get Corn Ferry status. And it wasn't good enough to actually get into Corn Ferry events, at least early on. And so one of the perks of that is I get to play Monday qualifiers for the tour directly. Whereas before you'd have to pre-qualify and then qualify. And it puts a big dent in your pocket, and it's also just it's very difficult to do both at the same time. Um, do that process similarly U.S. Open, local and sectional. But I was able to Monday qualify in Houston a couple weeks before the tournament. I think it was like a 5 for 4 playoff, and it wasn't like we had everybody shot like 8 or 9 under. I think we were 5 or 6. Um, and it was funny because I think out of the 5 guys, or out of the 4 other guys, I think I knew three, 2 or 3 of them. So it was kind of like playing a little college event, having a little playoff with college buddies. So made it a little less nerve-wracking. But I was able to. I think I got through in the second hole. Birdied the second hole to get through, and I mean, after that, I was stoked. Even if I made the cut, got lucky. Got lucky. One guy dropped at the last second at the Open to help me make the cut, but it was just a surreal experience, just in general, to start the career like that. So it was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, get really, I mean, just to play a PGA event with those high level players, make the cut, make it through the weekend, and that's all experience, right? That you're going to take and you're going to build and you're going to be able to look back on and I'm sure that helps you in
Absolutely,
your PGA Tour Americas. If you're in a tough spot, you can just draw on that experience. And who, I mean, who doesn't want to play a PGA event, right? Like if you don't have your tour card and you can play a few events, just build up that experience along the way. Why not?
exactly. And it helped too because making the cut, you guaranteed to get paid a little. I think I was tied for dead last out of the guys who made the cut, and still made more than I'd made pretty much in any event combined. So it was helpful for at least paying for the next tournaments to get there. So really
Yeah,
cool.
definitely. Do you have a favorite golfer? Like a guy that you just love watching?
It's easy. I mean, I like watching Scotty. It's so easy to say. I mean, he's just really, really good, and I also like everything he stands for off the course. Very faith based, and he's just like a normal guy, which I think is just what I kind of strive to be. Is just a normal guy who plays golf, not like someone who finds. I don't want to find my identities inside in golf because then it's going to determine how I feel about the rest of my life. And so that's somewhere where I've looked up to him. I haven't personally met him, but just as a role model, he seems like just an incredible person on and off the course. And not only that, he's just absolutely incredible golfer. And I think I could watch highlights of him just for hours and hours. It's very fun to watch.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like some of the recent tournaments, he's had a few bad rounds, but like a bad round for Scotty, most people would take that any day. He like gets in a really tough spot and it's like, man, I don't know how he's gonna get out of this. And then he lands like a perfect shot 3 feet from the hole, and it's like, wow, he was way off in the woods and he just, man, that's perfect placement. He can get himself out of any situation if he does have a bad shot. He's just insane. And like you said, the way he carries himself, he's so calm, cool, collected. He doesn't let his emotions get the best of him. Like, and that's hard, right? Like when you're playing any sport and you screw up, it's easy to just blow up. You see it happen to, especially golf, right? There's so many videos of people taking their clubs and wrapping them around trees and like snapping them, right? Like, but Scotty, I mean, yeah, he gets a little mad once in a while. Everyone does, but he keeps it pretty at a pretty low level. Even when he's mad, it's like just he's just a little disgruntled. Um,
Right.
yeah,
And he
he's
lets
a
it go
class
quick too.
act. He's a
Yeah, and it doesn't let him. He doesn't let it bother him for more than like one shot, which is probably the most important thing if you're going to get mad. Just don't let it bother the rest of your game. So
Right, because if you
very,
let
very
it bother
mature.
you, then your next shot's gonna be off, and then now you've bogeyed another hole. Right, you see it all the time. Guys will bogey 4 or 5 holes in a row, and it's got to be just frustration building on frustration. I mean, I'm not playing any crazy courses, but I know when I play, that's what happens. Right, you get kind of cranky. You make a bad shot, and then now you've just got a string of bad shot after bad shot after bad shot. If you just take a
Right.
deep
Those.
breath and like.
Yeah, exactly. It's those compounding mistakes. It's like the
Yeah.
U.S. Open. Very easy to do.
I like what you said too about like not having golf as your identity. I feel like that's something that in professional sports, people just, right? Like that person is football, that person is golf, but it's just your career, just like the rest of us. Like if you work in
Yep,
an office, if you work at business or whatever you do, that's just your career. It's not your, like you said, not your identity. You've got a life outside of that. You've got a family. You've got all these other things that are important. You mentioned faith. There's so much more to a person than their career, especially athletes.
absolutely. And like, especially in a sport where it's, I mean, I guess it's just a career with like sports where it's all basically performance based, how much you're making and how, I guess, your legacy. It's easy to kind of fall into that. You are your golf, or you are how you play. And it's definitely somewhere I've kind of felt myself fall into over the last 10, 12 years of just playing competitively. But I feel like for a lot of people, the more you kind of stray away from that, the more you get, I guess you just get freed up and kind of don't have, you're not like locked up. For me, it's still a struggle, and it's honestly still somewhere I'm improving and growing at. So if I can just get that mindset more often, I probably play a lot better golf.
Yeah. Such a mental game. Like, I mean, you can have something going on in your personal life. But if you're tense, right, your body gets tight. When you're stressed, your body hides your stress in different spots. So when you're not loose, when your mind isn't right, when you're thinking about other things, you're not focused, it's hard to perform. And when you're living is how you perform. That's how you make your money. I mean, it's even harder. I mean, most people can go to the office, you can have a bad day and it doesn't affect your performance. You just kind of muddle through, do your office, you go home. But like you said, when
Right,
your paycheck depends on how you perform, that's extra pressure that you add into whatever is already making it hard.
right. No, exactly, exactly. And that's, I mean, for 1 year in pro golf, it's already been, I've already noticed it. It's like, oh, I'm actually playing for my own paycheck now. It's like, oh, I got to pay for my own flights. I got to pay for my own hotels and whatnot. No longer bit getting everything paid for by coaches or anything like that. So it's a different mindset, but also it's still a good thing is it's still the same game. So it's just golf. You just got to kind of mentally prepare and get over it.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Well, let's talk about the US Open for a little bit. Obviously, huge to get to play in your first major. I mean, you're playing along the best in the world, literally. Um, Guys all around you that are the top of the game, and you're playing at one of the most historic and hardest courses on the PGA Tour. Um, so like, I mean, what's the week like? Like, what day did you show up at Oakmont?
Well, I showed up Sunday night. I know a lot of guys showed up. I think actually a lot of guys that weren't qualifying in had played in the weeks prior. But with me, I played sectionals. I think it was a week before showing up on that Monday. And so I waited. I gave it some time. I was driving up to Washington from my sectional in LA for the summer. I'm staying up here with my girlfriend's family. Just a good opportunity of golfing out here when it's a little nicer. And so I took a couple days driving up, took it easy for a couple days, practiced, and then flew out Sunday night. And then basically Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I just played practice rounds. So I played 18 Monday and then nine each. Played front nine. I think back nine Tuesday, front nine Wednesday. Just kind of took it easy, rested a bit, didn't practice too much, just to try and conserve energy. Even then, it's kind of tough not to just beat balls and spend all day out there, just because it's perfect grass, perfect. I mean, the weather was perfect for the practice rounds and perfect putting green, like everything you want when you're just golfing. But it's tough to kind of just have that self control of not wearing yourself out before the tournament begins, which is probably a good thing that I arrived on Sunday, because if I had arrived earlier, I probably would have been exhausted by the time the tournament started.
Yeah. What were your first impressions of Oakmont, like in those practice rounds?
Oh, I mean, that was my first time out there. I watched like US Open 2016 clips and USAM when it was there a few years ago. Tried to watch some on whatever they had online of like 2007 when they had it there too. And it's nothing like, I mean, it's exactly like you see it, but at the same time, it's like you can't really prepare yourself for it until you play it. Like it's so obscure and it's just such a good test. Um, the slopes and everything you can't really tell online or watching on TV. and then like especially how thick the rough is. I've never played anything near that thick. Like you get in the rough, you're hoping if you get a good lie, maybe you get 9 iron out of there. But if you have a bad lie, you're hoping to get it back to the fairway, which I've never experienced anything near that. It took me like 11 holes in the practice round to figure out how to consistently get the chips back onto the green. And I kept leaving them in the rough for legit 10 holes. I was like, I probably look like a 20 handicap out here right now. I'm trying to figure out how to hit out of the rough. Um, but no, the course it's easily the hardest course I've ever played. But it's also one of the most fun courses I've ever played. It's You can be so creative out there with all those slopes. And unfortunately, during the tournament, I left myself in some pretty bad spots around the green, so really couldn't use the slopes to my advantage. But at the same time, I was able to hang with the best for a while and gave it a chance to make the cut before kind of stalling off at the end there. But overall, really really cool spot.
Yeah, you started really well. I remember I was watching just coverage or whatever.
I did.
And I was watching your, kind of as you went, and then what I was watching the main feed on the Golf Channel or whatever, and you popped up there. They were like, "Oh, we've got Riley Lewis here. He's looking for a birdie putt." And then they showed you bury a putt, and I said, "Oh, that's awesome." And I was thinking to myself, "I'm talking to that guy next week. Here he is, nailing birdie putts on the Golf Channel on the U.S. Open. I mean, those greens, just crazy. There's some of them are huge. That one they said you can fit like four
Insane good.
basketball courts on it or something like that. I mean, it's just
Yeah,
giant.
so there were two pins in the first round that were both like back to back 49 paces on, which is basically 150 feet. I think a pace is about a yard. So it's like basically 150 feet on the green back to back. And I mean, it makes the hole like a good 30 yards longer as well. And so it's like how you never see this anywhere else, basically. These greens are insane. And then the slopes too were outrageous. I've never seen greens that slopey. So no wonder it's tough.
Yeah. Right. I mean, the USGA kind of said, I mean, they want it to be the ultimate test. I mean, they want to find the best in the world, see how they can compete, how they can hold up.
Yeah, I think that I mean it's my first US Open, but from what I've heard and from what I experienced playing, I definitely think it's the best, if not one of the best US Open courses there could be. So very, very thankful that I was able to qualify for this one.
Yeah. So you were paired with Philip Barbary, and he had pretty cool um, making his putt to make the cut with his wife on the bag. He had a pretty cool moment. What was it like to be paired with him for the first couple days?
Yeah, he's super. I mean, both the guys we played with were super nice. Um, Philip and Brady, and actually Philip's also on America's tour, so I've played with him. I've never played with him, but I've seen him out there each of the 6 weeks in Latin America. And his wife caddy for each of those two, which was funny. They're at like we had a few events at about 8,000 to 10,000 altitude, and so like just can't like carrying the bag at those courses. I can't imagine how tired she was feeling because I had a caddy for each of those, and I was exhausted walking those courses. But yeah, honestly, I mean, we kind of got unlucky. We were the last group off in the second round, and it started like it was dark and it was getting a little rainy, and it started pouring like Noah's Ark level when we were on seven. And the 7, 8, 9 is probably the toughest stretch on the golf course. And I think he was 5 over with 3 to go, and the cut was seven. So we are like, okay, he just needs to play these 2 over. And then it starts just pouring. And so 7 and 8 played so hard. Yeah, I think he made a bogey on seven, and then right before they blew, he had like a 90, maybe 100. Honestly, it might have been a 120 footer on eight from the front edge of the green, and he left it about maybe 20 feet short. And then they blew the horn, thankfully, because it was coming down so hard, the greens got so slow. I was like, he's trying to take his time, so maybe they blow the horn before he putts it. But unfortunately, he actually had to putt it, and so he's had to sit on that one. Basically, had to either make that or make par on nine, which was I thought 9 and 18 might have been the hardest holes in the course. Just you basically had to hit the fairway if you wanted to get to the green. Um, and came back early morning, short turnaround, and it was still raining in the morning, not as bad, but it was still sprinkling out there. And he barely misses his par putt on eight. and he has to make par on nine, and I'm just looking at my caddy. I'm like, this would be so unlucky if he ends up bogeying. And so we're just like hoping so badly that he had parred it. And he actually had maybe 40 feet, hit his first like 6 feet. We're like, oh no, he has to make this. And I think I was more nervous for watching a six footer than I was over any putt I've had or any shot I've had all week. And thank goodness he made it because I had 4 iron. And I was like, if he misses this, there's no way mine's going in. But no, I was so happy for him. He fought so hard all week, and I mean his short game and putting that especially that second round, but both those rounds was just incredible, getting up and down from everywhere. Um, and I mean, I'll see him over summer, which is nice. Be able to play with him. But yeah, it's super nice guy. I'm super pumped that he made the cut, and shows that us America's players can do it as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it is cool. I think it's great in any event when guys who have special exemptions, guys that qualify and like whatever, and they end up making the cut. Amateurs, when they make the cut, they play super well. You get those crazy when they win. Nick Dunlap, that was one of the first like. So I like recently got into golf in the last couple of years. I had not cared for golf at all, and then now I'm like fully obsessed with it. But the first like event that I actually like fully watched was when Nick Dunlap won whatever it was, the Farmers Insurance Open as an amateur last last spring, year and
Yeah,
a half
Palm
ago, or
Desert.
whatever. Yeah,
That's
and I
right.
thought that was just like that's pretty sweet. I was like, this guy's awesome. This guy's awesome. So I think those kind of stories are so
Absolutely.
cool, and
Yeah.
that's something about golf that's different than other pro sports.
No, yeah, that was I remember watching and we were at practice in school and we'd played against him in like amateur events and stuff. Like, wow, we know this guy. And we watched him win. We're like, what in the world just happened? And yeah, I mean, it's hard to believe that was over like almost a year and a half ago now.
Yeah,
But that is the beauty of the game. Anyone can do it if like there aren't many barriers. If you're playing off and you start improving, like there's no ceiling, I don't think, for anyone who wants to just keep playing, which is just what a beautiful game. What a
yeah,
beautiful game it is.
definitely. So how would you rate your US Open experience? 10 out of 10? 11 out of 10?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I would have liked to make the cut, but at the
Right.
same time, just being there and being able to play Oakmont and I mean, it was honestly almost as easy as it could have played just with the rain. I guess they got like some 13 inches in the last month or so, which is outrageous. Like most in the county history or something crazy. Um, and so just being able to play was awesome. Having my family there, some close family friends, my coaches came out from school, and it was really cool to share it. So I don't think I'd change anything, even if I could. Just all the stuff that I learned and just being able to play at Oakmont in general is just 10 out of 10 easy.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. You always you want to make cuts and you want to win and all this stuff. Um, but the experience and the journey are more important. I talked to a guy, Don Beebe. He was a wide receiver in the NFL, and he played in six Super Bowls, only won one. So he lost four in a row with the Buffalo Bills, and I
Jeez,
asked him about that. But he was like, I wouldn't change a thing because the journey was awesome, the experiences were awesome, the people were awesome. Yes, we didn't win, but I wouldn't change a thing. Like, so it's the same kind of mentality. You just got to look at
yep.
the whole journey you're on.
Everything happens for a reason. I mean,
Yeah.
it's funny because like I had Mexico, a tournament in Mexico for the Americas tour, which was supposed to end Sunday, right? Like the day before my local qualifier for the US Open. And I was supposed to fly out at like 8 p.m. and get in at like 1 a.m. into LA and then tee off at like 8 a.m. for that tournament. And I played pretty solid and just made some sloppy mistakes to miss the cut by one. And so I was like, I guess I could fly out to maybe get like a little practice in at the course. And so I was able to fly out Saturday night, and I didn't get to the place I was staying until like 2 a.m. And I'm like, if I had done that and then gone to bed and gone 4 hours of sleep before playing the tournament, I don't know if I would have qualified, and I wouldn't have been able to play in the US Open. So just even that like small, occurrence of missing the cut, and then traveling out early and getting a good night of sleep before the tournament, before the qualifier was just it was a blessing just to be able to play. And one, I guess, what, a month later, I'm playing the U.S. Open. So pretty cool how that all works.
Yeah, right. Everything happens for a reason. The Lord works in mysterious ways, right? He's got you can't see it,
Oh
right? You
yeah,
know how and when you're looking at your life and something happens, you don't understand why in the moment. Maybe a few months later you look back and you're like, "Oh, wow, like that happened and that led me to this." And right, we can't see the whole picture right now.
exactly. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, as we kind of wrap up here, just talk about like a few non-golf things like music. Do you like music? Are you a big music guy?
I love music. I also like. I mean, it always depends if I listen to music or podcasts. I'm actually listening to like the podcasts that were made, like the golf podcasts that were made during the U.S. Open, kind of seeing their commentary because they were watching, just to see kind of how it relates to what I was playing, which is cool kind of to hear. But other than that, love music, a whole bunch of different kinds of music.
What's your go-to? I mean, I guess maybe it depends on what you're doing.
Yeah, honestly, I'd say I like so many different genres, but overall, I'd say I'm a big like indie pop, a little R&B, kind of just chill music. Keep the heart rate down a bit music. Used to like lo-fi a bit in school, listen to that when I study. And then maybe a little bit of country, like some Morgan Wallen, Luke Combs, stuff like that.
Yeah. Do you listen to music when you're golfing ever? Like if you're just like playing practice rounds, I mean, does that help you stay relaxed and
So I don't listen when I'm playing on the course, but when I practice, I do. But probably like 95% of the time, I got either music or a podcast or something just to kind of just help pass the time better. I enjoy golfing, but if it's quiet and I'm just hitting balls, I'm kind of get annoyed.
yeah, like
They
if
get
you're at the
bored.
range or something?
Exactly. I need to listen to something.
Yeah, definitely.
Too
So if
many
you had to
thoughts.
well, yeah, I hate silence. I feel the same way. Like I don't want, it's so easy to get consumed in your thoughts. I'd much rather have a good song on and be chilling.
Absolutely.
If you had to try to go pro in a different sport other than golf, what would you go for?
Um, well, I'm not too big, so I'm 6'1", barely got to 155 a few weeks ago, which is huge. Um, so I'm a pretty skinny guy, and I used to be really good at like catching footballs, but I don't think I'd last more than a week in the NFL. So if there was a league for like skinny football players, I could probably do that. Otherwise, I had a dream of when I was younger of going like pro in golf and ping pong. And I actually tried to train ping pong for about a month, and it just never panned out. Didn't have the right like I didn't have any teachers, so I was just kind of trying to teach myself, and like I just couldn't do it.
Yeah,
But I'd say if I committed to ping pong, I feel like I could do pretty well. Until I watched like the Olympics and pros, I'm like, there's no chance.
yeah. You have to play that sprint football. There's that. I know some like colleges have like these like club teams like sprint football. I haven't really looked into it much, but like
Interesting.
there's no big guys on the team, so it must be more of just like a speed game.
Yeah, or like flag football.
Yeah,
Could do
right.
like
Try out for
flag
the
football.
Olympic team.
Well, exactly, Olympic sport now. Could be something. Could be onto
Yeah,
something. If golf doesn't work
yeah.
out.
Yeah, for sure. What'd you think of one last open thing I just thought of? What did you think of JJ's putt to win it?
Oh, that was awesome. I was so I didn't watch too much like on the broadcast after the rounds because I was spending a lot of time with the
Yeah.
family and friends. And then we'd finish so late, so it was the last tee time each day. I didn't really have time anyway. So I really only caught like the last, basically after the delay in the final round, where it was kind of a pillow fight where everybody was kind of just falling, and JJ was slowly climbing. And so I caught that putt, and my girlfriend's dad and I, and then she was sat down. We were just watching the last few holes. Felt so bad for like Sam Burns and Adam Scott too, kind of slowed down the stretch. Um, but watching that putt was incredible. It was so cool. I mean, just imagine being in that moment where you got a two putt, but then you just make a 70 footer. Like that's like Tiger Woods stuff. You don't see anyone really do that anymore, which is crazy. But so happy for him. My dad actually went to San Diego State, so I've kind of known about JJ. Just he was like, other than Xander, he's like the best golfer out of San Diego State. And so I've been following him for a while. But see his journey went from kind of what I'm doing right now, starting on Canada, and then he went slowly through Corn Ferry, got PGA Tour. So cool to watch, especially winning a major. It's pretty
Yeah,
incredible,
it is.
let alone
And
in
it
that fashion.
pouring rain, wet green, like I mean there's so many other factors. It wasn't like he did it in prime perfect conditions either.
Yeah, and he started out like I think he had five bogeys in his first six holes or something like that. Shot
Yeah.
40 on the front.
Yeah.
Crazy.
He hit that flag stick and then the ball rolled like 60 yards away or like that was just a tough like
Yeah, I didn't
how
even see that until they showed it after the round. I was like, what?
yeah.
That's so unlucky, but kept his composure. Rain delay helped him probably kind of reset. So it's
Yeah.
awesome for him.
Yeah, I feel like he's a guy that like him winning, like how can you not like that, right? Like how can you root against a guy like that? I mean, he just seems like a really decent, down to earth, honest guy.
Exactly. No, definitely. Apparently, they were talking about in the interview, I think after press or whatever. I guess his daughter had like a stomach bug, so he had to go to like CVS at 3 a.m. for
Yeah.
that morning, and which is probably part of the reason he kind of struggled for the first time. Maybe he was just exhausted, but it's just like the pure. That's like Scotty Scheffler right there. That's exactly
Yeah.
something he would do.
Yeah, it's dad,
Just
your dad
dad
first.
life.
Yeah. You're a
Yep.
dad
Most
first.
importantly, and then
Yeah.
second most important was winning the U.S. Open, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, how much time do you have here before you get to Canada? You have a couple weeks to kind of just, fine tune your game and work on stuff and reset and get back at it.
Exactly. Got that little under 2 weeks now. I think my flight's like the 29th. So couple week, like a week and a half or so to 2 weeks to just kind of get back in the routine, do what I can, golf wise, gym wise, get back, get full rested before starting out. So it'll be a long summer, 10 weeks. Luckily, not all in a row though. So it'll be like 2 weeks on and then 3 weeks on, coming back here every once in a while as well. So super exciting stuff. Excited to travel more and kind of see the country or see the I guess the country, Canada. It'll be fun.
Yeah, play some cool courses, I'm sure, up in Canada.
Hopefully get some good weather. We'll see.
Yeah.
Could be a
Yeah.
little rainy, but
Yeah.
never
You
know.
never know. Yeah. Well, look forward to watching your journey here, your journey through pro golf. Appreciate you hopping on the podcast, sharing your experiences and kind of sharing some insight to past the pro golf and what it was like at the U.S. Open. Yeah, wish you the best of luck with this summer. Appreciate it.
I thank you. Thank you for having me. This is fun. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening. Please stay tuned for more episodes soon.